Literally, for every one of us listening, at the end of this conversation, their brain will be wired differently than when it started. You can see your muscles growing because that's the function that they need to grow to perform. But in your brain, what actually happens, again, like computers, it's almost as if you loaded a new piece of software, a new piece of operating system on your brain. Every single instance of anything that you do literally rewires the hardware itself. Imagine the old days of the switchboard. Steve wants to call his mom, so you crank your phone and the operator says, hi, how can I help you? And you say, can you please connect me to that number? And she would literally take a wire and patch you and your mom's phones together. After a while, constantly, every time you call, you ask for your mom. So the operator goes like, why am I even wasting my time on this? Let me just patch that wire to his mom all the time. Okay, so that's exactly what happens in our brains. If you perform a certain function, your brain starts to build networks that make that function easier to perform in the future. If you do it one time, it becomes a little easier. If you do it 20 times, it becomes permanent. If you take a simple task like tapping your finger on the table, and you're requested to do that, say 20 times every hour, after a few days, you'll find that you're so much better at tapping your finger on the table, and you can do it much faster, and you can do it consistently, and you can do it in the background. Gamers know that for certain. Okay? The problem with neuroplasticity is if you tell your brain to wire for tapping your finger, it will. If you tell it to wire for solving complex mathematical equations, it may take a little longer, but it will. If you tell it to wire for hating people, it will become very good at hating. If you tell it to wire for fearing the end of the world because of what the media is telling you, it's going to become very good at fearing the world.
We can all think of someone in our lives who has very stubborn wiring that almost seems impossible to unwire. Trigger, brain goes catastrophe, panic.
And the answer to that I found was to actually guide that person, or yourself, if that's yourself, to the opposite of your wiring. If my wiring is to look at everything and see what's wrong with it, I should deliberately force my brain to look for what's right with it. And interestingly, you can train your brain. Basically, what you can do is for every negative thought that your brain gives you, task it with the task of giving you a positive one.
Or 2 positive ones.
9, I say.
9?
Yeah, because in reality, if you look at life around you, more than 90% of life is okay. For your brain to contribute more than that as negative is not fair. Literally, if your brain says, hey, by the way, this studio is a little warm, what else is about this studio? My friend Steve is there. The lighting is perfect. The crew is amazing. The coffee is not that bad. You guys got me honey. I can go on for hours, right? And the idea is by training your brain to look for that, what are you actually doing? You're firing the neurons together. It was training your brain to look for what's right. Your brain, every night that you did it, was like, okay, it seems he's going to be asking to call his mom a lot more often. It seems he's going to be asking for good things a lot more often. I might as well observe them. I might as well find them. And so, yes, you said some people are impossible to rewire. They're impossible to rewire if they've been practicing a certain wiring for 21 years. It's not going to take 21 seconds to rewire anyone. It will take 21 days, let's say, for your brain to recognize I need different wiring. And it will take maybe 21 months for your brain to say, and I don't need the old wiring anymore. And the game here is, can you actually keep doing that? Can you keep tapping your finger in a way that trains your brain that this is the wiring that you need?